The core rules of PCI DSS. First of all, there's 6 of them. We build and maintain a secure network and systems. And that is interpreted through installing and maintaining a firewall configuration to protect cardholder data. This is where I like companies that have decided to be PCI compliant even though they don't handle payment cards, and they just change this to say, install and maintain a firewall configuration to protect sensitive data. Rule number 2, do not use vendor-supplied defaults for system passwords and other security parameters. This is a huge problem. And one of the problems for this is because for many companies, they do not actually manage a lot of the devices they have themselves. Many banks don't manage their own ATMs. Many stores don't manage their own point-of-sale devices. Those are installed by a vendor who puts these in. And the question comes, did the vendor change the default passwords that that device was shipped with? The problem we have with this is that even internal audit often doesn't see that, because that is something that is actually outside of the scope of the audit itself, and it shouldn't be. It's something that we need to carefully check. We need to make sure that if we use any type of device that is even supplied by a vendor, that we have verified for this rule here. Protecting cardholder data means we protect it at all times. We protect it when we store it, and this is where we have to render the credit card number unreadable, so that if a person looked at the database, they would not be able to see what the real credit card number was. It also requires us to encrypt the transmission of cardholder data anytime it goes across an open public network. Continuing on, PCI requires us to have a vulnerability management program that says we will protect all systems against malware and regularly update our antivirus software or programs, and that will develop and maintain secure systems and applications. As we said, secure applications can be based on the Payment Application Data Security Standard. The next set of rules deals with implementing strong access control measures. This may be one of the most important sets besides the vendor-supplied default passwords, and that is that we must have procedures in place that restrict access to cardholder data based on business need to know. If you need it in order to your job, then you can see it. But we restrict access so that it's only on a need-to-know basis. That means we also track. We establish accountability where we identify any person or entity that try to access system components and make sure that they are authenticated that they are supposed to have that access. And we also restrict physical access to cardholder data. For example, many of the little point-of-sale devices that are used in stores, they have mechanisms in them that makes them tamper-proof. If a person tries to take that apart, it should destroy the operations within that device. That is a way to restrict physical access. We also see that we must regularly monitor and test networks. We have a schedule that requires us to do things like vulnerability assessment, for example, and we track and monitor all access to network resources and track and monitor all access to cardholder data. We regularly test our security systems and processes. And finally, the 12th of the rules under these 6 major categories is maintain an information security policy. That means we have a policy that addresses what is information security, and that policy should be then communicated to all personnel. There's a couple of other parts of PCI DSS I want to just take a second and review, because this is where many organizations have fallen short. And that is the rules such as do not store that 3-digit code off the back of the card. We see companies do this all the time, and yet it's against the regulation. The reason they do it is because nobody told them what the standard says, and because they make an assumption that they need that. For example, I dealt with a situation where a business analyst tried to say, we have to keep that because we do monthly recurring charges. No, you can't store it. You're not allowed to store it. And if you do monthly recurring charges, you don't need it. You're already an approved merchant for that card. So this is where we have to communicate this to developers. We have to communicate it to the business analysts that we must not store that 3-digit code unless you're the bank. And if we are storing it, we quickly go and fix our systems that we don't store it any longer. These are requirements. And we've listed the 12 main rules here. And those are broken into a lot of different individual rules, though there can be cases where there could be a waiver. For the most part, they are requirements and we must meet them. But there are some rare situations where we might have an exception because of a particular way of doing business and so on. But that has to be documented. But one of the best things about PCI is that it tells us how. It gives us guidance on how to test to make sure we've met these requirements. It gives us then also suggestions on how we can ensure that we are compliant and so on. So it is a way we can prove compliance.